This is Brian from ScreenFiles.com with Postmortem. The movie I'm rewatching today is The Wraith, a 1986 movie directed by Mike Marvin and stars Nick Cassavetes and Charlie Sheen. And let's be clear, The Wraith is not a good movie. It's actually pretty bad. But the thing is, it's promisingly bad, which I always find fascinating. In that if the director had taken a left instead of a right, if he'd done A instead of B, this could have been a really good movie. But he didn't take those routes, and it sucks. But its greatest flaw, I think, is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. On one hand, it seems very car enamored. The Wraith revolves around a guy who's killed, and he comes back driving a supercharged car to get revenge on those that killed him. In other words, The Wraith is a horror movie. Instead, it's played like a Dukes of Hazzard episode. Lots of car crashes and so on and so forth. That shouldn't have been its thrust at all. It should have just went for straight horror. And it would have worked that way because it's about a guy who literally comes back from the dead. Not figuratively, he didn't die and he comes back. No, he comes back from the dead. This is a horror movie. This is a monster movie. Yet it doesn't know it's a monster movie, and that's its problem. It is so clueless about its own nature that it comes off confused and really odd. And the actual star of this movie is a car. It's a Dodge concept car. The name eludes me at the moment, but if you look at it here, it's pretty cool looking. It's an awesome looking car. And I imagine Mike Marvin, as I mentioned, who directed this movie, said, "That's a cool car. I'm going to make a movie about this car. Doesn't matter the story, I just want to see this car." And I can get my head around that. It's an awesome looking car. Concept cars are cool, and it looks great. But there's not enough story to support this thesis at all. And there's some curious things about it, like every time the Wraith, most times I should say, the Wraith gets a victim, there's these little armature structures that appear and they glow. And I'm asking myself, why? The director doesn't explain what they mean, how they contribute to the plot, why they're even there. I mean, initially you see an image of him, and the structures, which are on his arms as well as legs, I assume they're the same structures, appear. So in my own head I was thinking, okay, Packard and his goons killed this guy, and they broke his arms and legs, let's say. And so the suit he wears maintains his structure, keeps him upright and so on. But those little armatures are, there'd be one, see, I don't know, I'm just making it up. I'm trying to make sense of something that wasn't explained to me in the movie. And I'm not doing it very well, because it's just ridiculous. It makes no sense. For instance, there's a scene in the movie when the Wraith, oh, by the way, I should mention, the way the Wraith kills is that he gets into the races with these goons. He outraces them, and then, now visualize it. They're driving along, the Wraith just outruns them entirely, he's gone. And they're still speeding though, and they say they come around a corner, and the Wraith's car is blocking the road, which means they slam into the Wraith, explosion, they die. Now this is just a really dumb way to kill somebody. It's just now keep in mind, the Wraith reforms after all this, so it's like no skin off his ass. He's okay. He'll be back. But it's such a tensionless, dramaless way to kill someone. Sure, you get a neat explosion, but it doesn't mean anything. It's empty. There's no feeling of terror. There's no feeling of terror. There's no feeling of anything, frankly. It's just a bland way to kill somebody. So it doesn't make any sense. And even worse is that when these things happen, when the people are killed, they're not burned or damaged. Keep in mind, they're in an exploding vehicle, but they're not burned, they're not hurt, but their eyes are missing. Why are their eyes missing? The movie doesn't explain any of this. So these things keep happening. These weird armatures, people missing their eyes. It doesn't make any sense. And if the director, who actually wrote the movie as well, had tried to explain to why these things are happening, it would have been a better movie. There's a flashback scene when the character who Charlie Sheen plays is killed. If they could have established some of these things then when watching the movie from that point on, you would go, okay, I get that. That makes sense. I understand why when the Wraith claims someone, i.e. they crash into the Wraith, they blow up, and their eyes are gone. I get it. It makes sense. But that doesn't happen. So it's just like you're kind of looking at this and going, why is this happening? It makes no sense. I love this movie, by the way. It's nonsensical, but it's fascinatingly nonsensical, and that's important to me. Another issue with this movie is that I mentioned earlier that it doesn't know what it wants to be. It should be a horror movie. It would be an awesome horror movie. The story is from a horror movie, but it's not. It doesn't want to play that game, so it goes for more of an action-adventure spin with lots of crashing cars. Now, you look at the Wraith, you look at his uniform, you look at the car. In fact, if you look at his origin, well, I shouldn't say origin, but the way it comes together in the movie, these, what seem to be stars, come from various points of the sky. They meet at a crossroads, and they form the car. It's very science fiction-y, almost alien type feel to it. And that doesn't make any sense, because, as I said, it's a horror movie. It's trying to be a horror movie. And you can have science fiction, you can have horror movies with science fiction elements. Galaxy of Terror. It's comedy, but this is science fiction. It has elements of science fiction. Car and stuff. It's also not a horror movie. It has elements of horror. They're dying, somehow dying. But it just happens nonetheless. So I mentioned the Dukes of Hazzard earlier, and it's pretty much the Dukes of Hazzard with more explosions, if you will, and less jumps. And it's a weird, generally odd movie. It's a fascinating movie though. If you haven't seen The Wraith, it's on Netflix right now. Watch it. It's not great. Frankly, it's not even good. But what it is interesting. And it's, in its own way, it's kind of daring. And if I were going to improve this movie, it's pretty easy to do, frankly. Make it a horror movie. Get rid of the glowing brace things that are meaningless as far as I can tell. Get rid of the crashing and exploding and reforming car. Well, you could do it once, but in this movie, this is his primary method of killing people. You need to get rid of that. Get rid of the shotgun. He has a shotgun which has lights on it. Again, looking very sci-fi techy. For what reason does this look sci-fi techy? It's not, and sci-fi techy is not a word, but you know what I mean. Why does it look sci-fi techy? This is not an alien. This is not a robot. This is not some creation from a lab. This is a dude who came back from the dead to get revenge on some killers. Just go with that. It's a simple idea, which would have yielded a simple movie. But there's nothing wrong with a simple movie in and of itself. You do it well, you shoot it competently, and that'll work. You can have simple movies that are effective movies. The Wraith doesn't seem to get that. It's so enamored of things like Smokey and the Bandit, the Dukes of Hazzard, which aren't exactly the strongest movies as far as storytelling goes, it must be said, that it forgets what it is and why it is. So, as I said, the Wraith is on Netflix. It's not good. It's not well done. It's silly. But it's fascinatingly silly because you watch it and you go to, at least I say to myself, I see how this movie could have been great. I see how this movie could have been fascinating. I see how this movie could have been sublime. Unfortunately, the director/writer of The Wraith is not on the same wavelength as me. What can you do? This is Brian from Postmortem.com. Wraith on Netflix. Check it out. Well worth your time. It's not good, but it's enjoyably bad. Take care. Let me know what you think.